So tritone is a pretty good way to add an overall color, and you throw that on there and combine it with some other things like curves and some other effects that I'm going to show you, and you can have some cool looking results. And when you show like a client a before and after picture like this, they're like, oh man, that's awesome. So use tritone a lot to your advantage. So let's check out what happens when we mess with highlights. So let me turn this back on, and I'll mess with the highlights. And I can make the highlights darker if I wanted to. Now they're all like grayed out and junky looking. So that's not really what we want. So I'm bringing this down. Check out the H here in the middle, and then these lights as I scrub around on the highlights. You can see they're dulling out, and now they're brighter. Or I can make them like a different kind of color if I really wanted to. So I'm going to keep them at this because I darken the scene by adding this darker kind of blue. So let's check into the shadows here, and the shadows will be like the stuff here in the background. These tires will be darker. It doesn't mean like the actual shadow that's being cast. It just means darker areas. And when you mess with that, it kind of messes with the whole entire thing in this shot. So messing with around with the shadows isn't going to help you too much in this shot, but in other shots it may. So keep that in mind. So that's tritone. Now let's come up to a new one. We can come to effect, color correction, and then we'll come down here to hue and saturation, and we can also desaturate and saturate the video footage here by moving this master saturation. We can go all the way to black and white. So this is how you make black and white footage, just moving it all the way to the left of the saturation, and then we can like add a bunch more saturation if we wanted to. This is what happens when you add way too much. It looks like crap. But just if you're adding a little saturation, just don't go too crazy with it. We've got the lightness here, and that just basically brightens things up or darkens things based on the hue and saturation values. Now we've got this master hue here where we can change the different colors of what's going on. Sometimes it works well, but most of the time it just like blasts out color. So let me change this around, and you can see how things work with that. Now if we have something that's one plain color and we want to basically make a different color, we can click on this colorize button and mess with the hue down here to bring up new colors. So it pretty much colorizes the entire thing. And we got our saturation here to make it even brighter or darker depending on what you want, and same thing with the lightness, it'll make it brighter or darker. So this will like colorize anything. I can show you that real quick on like just a regular layer. So layer, new, solid, and I'll just make it something like that. We're gonna add an effect. Where's color correction? There it is. Hue saturation, and if we colorize this, we can just change the color of our solid. So that's how you can change colors easily if you want to, and then you can also keyframe that to change colors also. So I don't need this anymore because I'm done showing you that part. So I'll turn that off. Now we've got another one that we can use. Let me click on my layer, effect, color correction, and this one's called levels. The levels uses a histogram here to increase or decrease the black and white values on the actual footage here. So if I take anything from the slider here and this histogram here work kind of the same. On the histogram here, you got your black here on the left, and if I move that in, it's going to make everything darker. And then we've got our lights over here, our highlights, and if I move that in, it's going to make everything brighter. Then in the middle, we've got our grays, and that'll affect how the grays are affected and how bright and dark they are. The same with this slider here. So this is the output here on the bottom. So this is the output white and output black. So if you look down here on the in the effects panel where it says output black and output white, when I move this, it's going to affect the output white, and when I move this one, it's going to affect the output black. Or you can just manually type them in. When I move the stuff in the histogram, it's going to affect the input black, input white, and in the middle, this is actually the gamma, but I always called it the grays, gamma and grays. So pretty much the same thing going on there. So use those to affect the different, like the lightness and the darkness of everything that's going on. So we can also come into the channels and take out like red if we wanted to, or make things even more red. So this way it takes out the red, so we have no red anymore. But this is kind of like using curves, but it's also just, it's kind of like another interface for using curves. So you can use curves and levels kind of interchangeably, and they pretty much produce out the same kind of effects. So let me check up here and see if there's any more effects that I want to show you. Color correction. Tint. We can use tint here, and we can affect the amount here. The white values, which are the brighter things, we can change those to a different type of color. So let's go back into the blues. Now we can add a tint onto this. Now the blacks, we can make them like grayer if we want. And then you want to, this is just like the blend with the original, and then you can just blend it in to give an overall tint looking feel. So these are the main color correction tools that I like using, and I'll go over some of the other color correction tools. I don't know them as well, but pretty much these are your 5 tools that are the best for using color correction within After Effects CS6 at least. Now there's other third-party plugins that you can use, but I'm not going to go over them until maybe like way later on. I'm just going to try to teach you how to do everything in After Effects without plugins. So thanks for watching this one. We've gone over a few ways to use color correction, and pretty much that's it. So thanks for watching, and thumbs up and subscribe if you liked everything. So have a good one, everybody. See you later.